It often starts subtly, almost invisibly. You cross paths with someone who radiates serenity, poise, and a fierce emotional self-sufficiency. They declare their devotion to liberty, breathing room, and raw authenticity. You nod along, convinced this is the epitome of maturity. But as the days stretch into weeks, a subtle unease creeps in. Their focus feels fragmented, like shards of light piercing through fog. At times, they're fully immersed in the moment with you. At others, they're ghosts, vanishing into their own world. You can't quite pinpoint the issue, yet your intuition whispers a stark reality. You're not their sole priority. And when you muster the courage to voice your doubts, they deftly pivot, painting you as overly theatrical or riddled with unfounded doubts. Welcome to the bewildering realm of the dismissive avoidant, a master of facades who projects unwavering fidelity on the exterior, while quietly nurturing a web of hidden emotional or romantic entanglements. To unravel this enigma, we must peer past mere actions and delve into the intricate circuitry of their psyche. The dismissive avoidant was forged in a crucible where intimacy equated to suffocation, where bearing one's soul invited peril, and where reliance on others was branded as frailty. As grown individuals, they lug this ancient code like an invisible anchor. Profound closeness ignites the dormant terrors of their youth, the dread of being swallowed whole, scrutinized harshly, or cast aside. Rather than surrendering to the pull of affection, they erect barriers of separation. And among their slyest arsenals is the art of juggling multiple partners, not in the flashy, conquest-driven style of the classic charmer, but as a covert safety net woven from emotional redundancies. Each connection serves as a buffer against the intensity of any one flame. Should a bond ignite too fiercely, the avoidant deftly redirects their gaze to a cooler ember. This isn't fueled by hedonistic thrill, it's a fortress of self-preservation. For the dismissive avoidant, the very essence of emotional bonding registers as a snare, a velvet-lined cage waiting to snap shut. Thus, they fragment their affections across a mosaic of souls, ensuring no solitary heart claims dominion over theirs. It's a form of psychic hedging, a wager against the chaos of singular devotion. One companion might offer the soothing balm of heartfelt empathy, another the electric rush of spontaneity and wild unpredictability, while yet another provides the effortless ease of low-stakes camaraderie. Each fulfills a distinct niche in their inner ecosystem, guaranteeing that no individual ever wields unchecked sway over their guarded spirit. This choreography isn't haphazard. It's calculated, a subconscious blueprint etched into their relational DNA, even if they remain blissfully unaware of its design. Maintaining this constellation of emotional satellites empowers them to wield the reins of their heart while sidestepping the abyss of unshielded openness. It births a profound contradiction at the core of their being. They yearn for the warmth of human ties, yet recoil from the sacrifices they exact. They hunger for passion, but only in measured doses, remote, orchestrated, impervious to risk. When the tide of closeness swells too high with a single lover, they instinctively stir the waters into turmoil, manufacturing discord, withdrawing into solitude, or burying themselves in a frenzy of obligations. Then, with the grace of a shadow slipping through dusk, they channel their vitality towards someone or something less fraught, less laden with the weight of expectation. They could fire off messages to a lingering ex, fan the embers of a dormant dalliance, or draw nearer to an acquaintance who demands little in return. This ebb and flow of allegiance isn't born of spite. It's a ritual of inner equilibrium. They're tempering the inferno of proximity by dispersing their attachment impulses like seeds on the wind. If you've ever navigated the turbulent seas of romance with a dismissive avoidant, these jarring emotional whiplash moments likely scarred your memory. One instant, they're a vortex of undivided devotion, hanging on your every word. The next, they're an Arctic front, impenetrable and aloof. They might unravel their innermost thoughts in the hush of midnight confessions, only to don a mask of casual disinterest amid crowds. Probe them on the status of your union, and they'll evade like smoke, sidestepping definitions or murmuring platitudes about pacing themselves. Phrases like, "I'm easing into this at my own rhythm," or "commitment, I'm not quite there yet," tumble from their lips with practiced ease. These aren't mere whims or stylistic quirks. They're fortified ramparts. Vagueness grants them the nectar of affectionate proximity without the chains of accountability it entails. In their worldview, as long as they've sidestepped vows of monogamy, their conscience remains pristine. Even if their gestures sow seeds of deep-seated longing in you, the stark reality is that most dismissive avoidants refuse to cloak themselves in the villain's garb of the serial seducer. They perceive their entanglements as tidy, isolated compartments of existence, one for light-hearted escapades, another for soul-stirring dialogues, a third for the quiet harbor of reassurance. To them, this allocation strikes a chord of equity, a balanced ledger of the heart. Yet the blind spot they overlook is how this mosaic perpetuates a veneer of depth while starving the soul of true profundity. Genuine communion demands the audacity of emotional capitulation, a leap they've conditioned themselves to evade with the ferocity of a cornered animal. When you hoard lovers as sentinels against peril, you forge an impregnable vault, secure perhaps, but echoing with isolation. You bask in the glow of admiration, yet drift in a sea of detachment. It's the grandest mirage of mastery, a throne built on sand. Even more telling is their choreography in the face of reckoning. Should you illuminate the chasms of withdrawal, the erratic pulses of their presence, or the spectral outlines of rivals in the wings, they masterfully rewrite the script. Accusations fly back. You're spiraling into paranoia, hypersensitive to shadows, or inflating trifles into tempests. This subtle erosion of your reality, often dubbed gaslighting, rarely stems from calculated malice. It's an reflexive bulwark against the raw nerve of exposure. Admitting to splintered loyalties would shatter the illusion, forcing a confrontation with the specter haunting their choices, the primal terror of being truly beheld and cherished, flaws and all. So they diminish, divert, or dissolve into ether, preserving their psyche's fractured mosaic intact. But behold the cruel twist of fate in this tale. The dismissive avoidance crusade for sanctuary through a chorus of connections only amplifies the void it seeks to banish. They dodge the daggers of rejection, yet forfeit the miracle of mutual revelation. They pursue the sedative haze of superficial armor, only to awaken parched in a desert of dissatisfaction. They may even spin yarns for themselves, that they're wired for solitude, or that true kinship eludes their grasp. But the unvarnished verity, the ramparts erected for invulnerability, have morphed into unyielding bars. They're encircled by souls who ache to bridge the gap, yet they hover perpetually out of reach, barricading the gates to authentic embrace. And still, in the shadowed recesses of their essence, a muted yearning stirs. Dismissive avoidance may cloak it masterfully, but it gnaws. That hollow pang for unbreakable bonds. That desolation when the thrill dissipates like morning mist. They might confront their reflection, post-heartbreak, tasting a cocktail of triumph and melancholy. Triumph for preserving their sovereignty. Melancholy for the realization that autonomy untethered from union rings, eternally vacant. And when they forfeit a rare gem who saw through the veneer and stayed anyway, the epiphany dawns not in days, but in drawn-out seasons, sometimes spanning years. It's not the lover they mourn, but the squandered portal to unmasked belonging. So why persist in this Sisyphean cycle? Because the grooves of the soul resist erosion. The dismissive avoidance reflex to orchestrate a harem of hearts isn't a mark of ethical lapse. It's the echo of unresolved neural scars. They've internalized that dominion spells security, while release invites torment. Their tangled alliances mirror an inner schism, a spirit straining toward ardor while recoiling from its blaze. Redemption would demand the unthinkable, lingering in the furnace of unease, cradling fragility like a fragile flame, anchoring to a singular tether and defying the siren call to flee when the stakes turn visceral. Rare are those who embrace this gauntlet unprompted, but for the bold few, it unlocks the dawn of unfeigned closeness, their inaugural taste of love's unbridled depth. If you've tangled with a dismissive, avoidant whose divided devotions left you adrift, etch this into your core. Their evasions indict no flaw in your radiance. You weren't deficient, you merely brushed against a tempest where proximity masquerades as peril. You can't outrun their phantoms. Your soul arsenal? Safeguard your serenity. At times, the fiercest rebellion is ceasing the futile hunt for lucidity from one who dances in deliberate dusk. As you retreat and decree yourself irreplaceable, not one among legions, you seize the scepter of your own emotional empire. You proclaim that devotion needn't plead for its throne. Dismissive avoidance may hoard companions like talismans, but it's no saga of overflowing bounty. It's a chronicle etched in dread of entanglement, of surrendered reins, of the searing light of recognition. And though they may parade as paragons of cool detachment, beneath the polish rages a private war, desire clashing against bulwarks. They orbit multitudes not from gluttony for variety, but from the abyss of dreading singular necessity. Until they stare that abyss down, they'll dwell in crowds yet wander utterly solitary. If this raw dive into the shadows of avoidance hit home, ignited a spark of recognition, or armed you with the clarity to guard your heart like a fortress, then Stoic Thinking is your unyielding ally in the quest for unbreakable resilience. We're all about those stoic blueprints that turn chaos into conquest, dropping gems every week to help you master your mind, reclaim your power, and build a life of ironclad purpose. Don't just watch from the sidelines. Dive in deep, smash that subscribe button right now, and join our legion of stoic warriors rising above the noise. Your future self will thank you for every unshakable truth we unpack together. And hey, drop a comment below. Have you ever danced with a dismissive avoidant or spotted these red flags in your own story? Share your battle cry. What's one stoic lesson that's pulled you from the edge? Let's flood these threads with fire and fuel each other's growth. Hit subscribe, comment your truth, and let's forge that unbreakable mindset together. See you in the next one.